let's say you wanted a certain integrated bracelet watch from a French manufacturer. You like the design, but it's a little bit pricey for what it is. It's not the best value for money, and you were looking for a great alternative homage. Well, I think San Martin might have done just that, but it's not perfect. Let's take a look. So here we are, the San Martin SN-0074-G, whatever G stands for, I don't know. So I paid 334 Canadian dollars for this, and I've been looking for a while for a homage in this style. So I've tried the original from the famous French brand, and it's a beautiful watch, but I genuinely believe it's too expensive for what it is. I think it's a couple of $1,000s too much really for what you're getting. So I've been looking for a homage for a while, as I mentioned in the intro, and then I saw this pop up and I had to buy it. So let's go through some of the specs first on this. So this is 40mm in diameter, which is good because too big on a rectangular or square, even with the round edges, kind of this kind of style of watch, they tend to wear a little bit bigger. So I think 40mm is a perfect size for this one, and also faithful to the original. It's 47.8 lug to lug, so for a smaller wrist, you won't have too much trouble, I don't think. You've also got a nice downturn on the case, and the bracelet flexes quite nicely. There's not getting stuck on anything there, so that will hug the wrist well. As long as you're a little bit longer than the lug to lug, you'll be absolutely fine to wear this one. 11.4mm thick, so not chunky, but not exactly slim. Possible with a shirt, but maybe only just. Although I think most people probably wear this as a sort of casual piece, maybe smart casual, but perhaps not as a full dress watch anyway. It's sapphire crystal. It does have anti-reflective coating on it, which, yeah, it's okay. It's not the greatest AR, but it does the job outside. I've had it out in bright sunlight and not had any issues reading it. The lume is BGW9, so I'll put a lume shot in the corner for you, and you can see the lume. Apologies, my camera's not great at filming lume shots. So in terms of what we've got, the movement is YN55, which I believe is an Epson movement, which they also use in the Orient watches. So it has a few less jewels than the NH35. I think it's a slightly more modern movement. As for if it's long term as reliable, I don't know. I don't have actually much experience with the YN55. Maybe you guys can let me know any feedback or any experiences you have with this. I'm assuming it's going to be quite reliable and long lasting if Orient are using it in a lot of their entry level divers. So it's a push-pull crown, which for me is a little bit of a shame. I know I'm probably not going to go much more than in the shower or washing the dishes, but I still like to have a screw-down crown. I think, like a lot of people, I like my watches to be over-engineered. So push-pull, not my favourite, but I mean, it's fine. You can just pull it out once, set the time, nice and smooth, no issues with wobble. It's actually surprisingly easy to grip despite the crown guard's so close, and then obviously you can just wind it. There we go. So that's all good. So this is a Sunray Blue, I think it's described as by San Martin on the website, on AliExpress, or on San Martin Watches official website. Obviously 12, 3, 6 and 9 they're nicely filled with lume. This is the newer San Martin logo here, which does match that on the crown. So that's nice. That's an applied logo. Everything's applied apart from the automatic 100 meters there, which is stamped onto the dial, I think. Right, so there's these 4 decorative screws here. I don't think they're actually part of the assembly, otherwise I'm guessing they wouldn't all be perfectly pointing inwards. Then you've got this nice brushed surface on the top surrounding the crystal, and then you've got a chamfer all the way around. There we go, nice and polished. I'll get onto the fingerprints perhaps in the negatives, but you can probably already see a lot of polished surface is great when you get out of the box, but long term it's hard work to keep them that way. Either lots of Cape Cod, or you just accept the scratches as they come. So you go down from this nice polished chamfer, and then there's a second brush surface, very small, just there, and then you've got brushed sides, nice brushing, very fine. You know what you get with San Martin, always good quality on the brushing, and this watch is absolutely no exception. And then the bracelet is an integrated bracelet, so you're not going to be swapping this one out, I don't think. So it's held on with these screwed tubes, so rather than traditional links, there's a screw head on both sides, and to remove it you'll need to have two flathead screwdrivers, and you'll take it apart and it will come apart into two pieces. But yeah, like I mentioned, I don't know there's going to be many bracelet options for this piece. So as for the bracelet, again, very nice brushing and polished links in between the H's there. Catches the light beautifully, really nice when you have it on the wrist. I'll do a wrist roll later. Case back, very plain, just a slab of brushed material with a polished chamfer, which is a nice touch, and then 4 screws holding it down. And on the clasp, we've got a milled butterfly clasp. Again, simple but effective. I mean, it suits the watch. Obviously a butterfly clasp won't be everyone's cup of tea, but I think it works well here, so I don't really have a complaint on that. Weight on this, by the way, just in case you're wondering, was 167 grams without any links removed at all. Okay, so my main positives with this watch are really high-end finishing. I mean, honestly, I find it very difficult to distinguish the finishing here versus the watch it's homaging and having handled both. Obviously the bracelet design is slightly different. There's a few minor differences, but the quality of the polishing and the brushing is absolutely superb. So for that alone, I highly recommend this watch. And obviously with the movement, like I said, I'm not entirely sure on the YN55. I'd perhaps rather have an NH35, although I know they brought these in because of the movement shortages around the world. You can also get these with a Sleater SW200, and there might be a PT5000 on there. I can't remember off the top of my head. I think there probably is as well. So there's plenty of options, but for me, I'm happy enough just have the Japanese movement there and have the reliability and save a little bit of money. So what are the drawbacks, the negatives, or the areas that I would improve with this watch? Well, so many polished areas means it's an absolute fingerprint magnet and a scratch magnet. If you've had watches with polished center links before on the bracelet, you'll know, great when it comes out the box, a couple of days of wearing and you're going to see hairline scratches, and every time you touch it with bare hands, more and more fingerprints, and it's just hard to keep them looking good. So I would probably have said, even though it looks great in the light now, I would rather have had a fully brushed bracelet here. I think that would improve it a little bit for me, but obviously keep all the polishing on the chamfers on the case, and then I don't think you'd really lose too much from the overall aesthetic of the watch. The dial color, so I don't know if you can quite see it, but it's actually quite a light color, and the pictures they use on the website, on AliExpress for sure, is much darker. So I'm not sure if that's I'm covering it a little bit closer here. I'm not sure if that's an issue with the editing on there, or if the paint is actually sort of like changing slowly. We'll have to wait and see how it looks. I've seen some other pictures, some people have picked this up on the AliExpress reviews, and they also seem to have the same sort of light shade of blue there, lighter shade than I would say in the pictures. So it's something to be aware of. I love the colour as it is. I'm quite happy with it. I actually probably prefer it to the sort of darker blue that was advertised, but it's something to be aware of. So another critique I have of this is the bracelet doesn't have any half links. So you've just got, every time you're pulling out a link, you're losing that. If, like me, you're halfway between a link, it's going to be too tight or it's going to be too loose. I wear this one slightly loose, and it's okay. I mean, it's good. It's good enough for me to wear the watch and to enjoy it. But having a butterfly clasp and having no half links, in my opinion, is a real oversight. If you're going to go with the butterfly clasp, then you really need to have some half links, some way of getting a finer adjustment. So that's probably my biggest criticism, actually, is some people are going to find it really hard to get a good fit with this, and it's not like you're going to swap out the bracelet for something else and chuck a different strap on it because it's integrated. So I think that's probably the most important point, perhaps for Revision 2 or any future releases in a similar kind of style. And final point, the original watch actually has a display case back. I'm aware that an industrial movement like a YN55 is not the most exotic thing to look at, but I think a clear display case back with a custom rotor, and maybe San Martin could do something cool with the custom rotor as it is on the piece that it's homaging, then I think that would really work as well. I think that would just give it an extra dimension of visual interest, especially for us watch lovers who like to look at things like case backs. But yeah, it would definitely need to have at least a custom rotor, and maybe a little bit more finishing applied. I don't know, blued screws. There's things you can do with movements, even with budget movements, you know, to sort of dress them up and make it visually interesting. So that would be my only other suggestion. But I guess the biggest challenge with that would be you're offering 3 different movement types, and if you start customizing rotors across 3 of them, it's going to start pushing manufacturing costs up quite a bit. So yeah, maybe I can take it or leave that, and I'm sure a lot of you will disagree with me and you'd rather have the sterile solid case back there. So and I did mention earlier the crown. It would be good to have a screw down crown, I think. But yeah, nothing major, nothing disastrous, but definitely some areas where it could be improved. So, and here we're just looking at the time grapher. I've just popped it on there, giving it a good 30 or so winds, and amplitude's fine, beat error's fine, but negative 18 seconds per day, not ideal. So I will probably regulate this one myself and pop those case back screws off and just get that a bit closer to 0 or plus minus 1 or 2. So I like my watches running a bit better than that. Well, in closing, I think this is probably one of the few homage watches that will stay in my collection, at least for a little while. The fit and finish and overall quality of the watch will keep it there. And like I said before, I love the design. I know it's a little bit Marmite, but I'm definitely on the loving side. So yeah, really cool watch. Really interested to hear what you think. Let me know, and your personal experiences with San Martin, with the watches. And yeah, if you like the video, please give it a thumbs up. If you want to see more of this, please subscribe. And yeah, thank you. Take it easy.